Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Seen&Heard, our live show and podcast that we have. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. Today with us, we have Mateo, who is a vocal coach. And for everyone who doesn't know him, he will say a few words about himself.
Thank you for this lovely and short introduction. Hi, everyone. Like you heard, my name is Mateo. I'm a voice coach. And the way I like to present myself is that I just have to put it out there, I will try to stop you from sounding like your anxiety and help you to start sounding like your expertise. Or the other way that I like to introduce myself is to basically say that I like to work with voice both literally and figuratively. Figuratively, I'm a public speaking coach. So I will always try to make your voice heard in a way that you can find arguments that can work for you, not against you. So you can present your opinions without losing yourself. And when it comes to working with voice literally, I work with voice literally. I'm a voice coach, so I will try to make you sound like a better version of yourself. I will try to make your voice sound fuller, less nasal, and basically unlock the whole potential it has within.
Okay, thank you for this lovely introduction of yourself. There's quite a lot to digest, and you say people mostly have anxiety when speaking. I would say I'm mostly lazy. I don't like to move my lips too much. But how does this affect someone's professional image when they have anxiety in speaking?
First and foremost, we have to say that voice is a physiological, psychological, and social phenomenon. And if we just want to talk about the psychological part of it, it basically tells people who we are. It talks about our identity. It talks about our mental state in that given moment. So, for instance, if we're feeling a little bit stressed, or if we're feeling that we're not good enough, which is something that I unfortunately come across quite often in my practice, they're just gonna tighten up their whole body. And once you tighten up your whole body, the upper part of it is also going to tighten up, and it's going to make your voice sound a little bit pushed. It's going to sound squeezed. So in my opinion, and in my professional practice, from what I've seen in the last 5+ years, most of the problems related to voice are not related to voice itself. They are related to tension. So when I step in, we mostly work on tension, on how to unleash the tension in your vocal tract, how to unleash the tension in your whole body. So yes, if you feel like you're not good enough to talk about something in front of people, you're going to feel it. And then your voice is going to feel it as well.
Related to tension, we have Clara in the comments saying, "Woohoo! Hi,
Woohoo.
guys."
Hi. Hello,
It
hello,
sounds
hello.
like she's not tense this morning.
That's
Thank
good.
you,
Hi,
That's
Clara.
good.
Clara.
At least someone isn't. And Gal, of course.
Yeah. I must say, I'm a bit jealous of the way you sound
Thank you. It's laryngitis.
no, not because of that. All the words come so easily to you outside, and Maya just mumbled. So, how do you actually come to this level of speaking without any problems? And I don't know how to say it. Edita, could you help me with?
I think Mateo gets it.
Yeah, I do. I
Yeah.
totally do. I would say that the first thing you need to do is to just be aware that your voice sounds the way it sounds. Because the way it worked for me, I'm not gonna lie. My professor back in my faculty days, she told me that my voice is good, it's okay, but she wouldn't let me in a more serious TV show. And that was a blow to my ego, I'm not gonna lie. That was back in 2019. So from that blow to my ego, I just started working more on my voice. So what you hear now is 6 years, yeah, give or take 6 years of work in practice. But Darko, for what you said, for what you asked. First of all, we need to hear ourselves. A lot of people don't like listening to themselves. You know how they say when they hear themselves on voice messages, oh my God, that's not my voice. That's not how I sound. That is literally how you sound. I can go into the physical part of it. I can say why that is like that. But people need to hear themselves to know what they need to work on. And then there are different exercises we can use depending on if we want to have a more resonant voice or if we want to have our pronunciation be tighter. So in that regard, it's going to be more understandable. And of course, I can always teach you some exercises because voice is a very lovely instrument because we carry it around the whole time and necessarily we don't know how to play it properly. So that's where I come in. I tell you how to play your voice properly, and I try to teach you how you can condition yourself to sound more proper the whole time. Do you want me to show you that exercise, Darko, so we can help you for some other podcasts?
Yeah, I sure would love some exercises, but I would say also it's not important the way. It's not only important the way you sound because most of well, let's say content like videos are today played on silent, but it also shows how you move your lips, and if this shows even if the sound is off, the way you really pronounce it, then it's really good to see it on the video, even if its sound is off. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, yes,
but
that is
anyway.
true. And lip reading is also an essential way of hearing. We try to see what other people are saying by just looking at their lips. And then basically on the lip movement, we're going to recognize the words, we're going to recognize the sounds, we're going to understand someone's speech. So yes, that is definitely an important part.
Exactly. And now we come to exercises. What are the exercises that we can do today? Every day? How often?
Every day. There's
every
a
day.
lot of exercises. It usually depends on what you want to achieve. But since we started talking about the quality of pronunciation, I can show you a very, I would say, easy exercise to manage. And it goes like this. I'm just going to go closer. I'm just going to come closer to the camera. So usually people just mumble out the words. So we try to give them two things. Speak a little bit slower so you can concentrate on each individual sound. That's the first part. The second part is just do this. Tighten your jaw and then talk like this. Only your lips can move, but your teeth need to be tight like this. You can take a text. It's quite hard to talk like this, but you can take a text or you can talk to yourself. It's not the weirdest thing out there. So you take a text and you just read it like so. For instance, if I wanted to say something that's here, I can say, restream speaking to be heard. And then you spend about 5 to 10 minutes talking like this, and then you try to talk normally, let's say like I'm speaking right now. And you're gonna feel like there's much less tension than it was before. And you're also gonna hear how the voice production is much easier, how the sound production is much more precise. Your sounds are gonna sound precise. They're gonna sound like sounds that you need to achieve. So if you guys wanna try it yourselves and then tell me the results, give me the feedback, I would be more than happy
let's
to.
try this.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to talk like this for 10 minutes.
Don't tense. Don't
I
be
sound
like,
really angry.
talk like this. Don't go like that. Don't go like that because you're just gonna put pressure in your throat. Try to do this a few times just to unhinge everything, just to feel better in case you haven't done this in the morning. And then you can just do it, you don't have to be super
happy.
tense, but you need to have some tension here and then talk.
Oh,
like
I still
this.
need to have be tense. Okay.
You can tell me the result in private if you want, and also to our listeners, you can try
hurt.
it.
He'll never stop doing this now, Mateo. You made such a huge
I
mistake.
created a monster. Oh no, not the first time doing that. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that he's picking it up. It's good. It's good. That's
Our
good.
previous guest was talking about public speaking, and he gave us a tip about holding a pen between your teeth. Is it the
Yes.
same principle?
Yes, it literally is the same principle. And also from the bel canto school of singing, the operatic singing, back in the day, they used to have a cork that they would put in their mouth. So they would sing around it, which would make their sounds more precise. And when I say sound, that's a speech sound. It's not the general sound, let's say, but it's like a, e, I, o, u, or the vowels, or all the other consonants. We can call them sounds. So yes, there's a lot of variations to what we're doing here. You can either put a pen in your mouth. I suggest you do it with a pencil, not with a pen. I learned it the hard way why you shouldn't do it like that. So you just put a pencil. Yes, Darko, yes, that's exactly the face I had when it happened. So you put a pencil, or I don't know how firm that is. It looks kind of gummy. So you need to have something that's a little bit more firm, like some wooden piece of something or some hard plastic. You just put it diagonally like this. Or maybe that's not going to allow you to talk properly because it's going to block your whole mouth. Just put a pen. Or better yet, you don't even need to use a pen. This is literally the same thing. You can use this. Or if you have some wine, just open up the bottle of wine. You can do it right now, as far as I'm concerned, and take a cork and then put it in your mouth and just try to talk like this. Also, there's another exercise that I use it. I use it quite often, but I'm not going to say that it's my favorite one out there. It is basically just talking in a whisper, in a louder whisper, counting to up to 100. And the exercise goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And you can see that the blood basically rushed into my face because it's going to put a little bit of strain on your face. But also later on, it's going to help you develop a better diction, better quality pronunciation. So that's an exercise, or at this point, 3 exercises that deal with the quality of how you pronounce your words. Some other exercises are semi-occluded vocal tract exercises that are really good for waking up your voice, for conditioning it during the day if you are a teacher, if you are a voice professional, any kind of voice professional. So you just need to reset your voice quickly. And they're really good exercises for cooling down your voice. The exercise goes like this. You imagine like you're a little bit cold. And you know how people usually deal with being cold. They're like, it's so cold. So we take that, and then we just try to make it longer, like this. If we want to, we can always go into other parts of our range. So we can go deeper, like. And maybe you can hear how my voice sounds like right now. It just opens up your whole voice. It makes it deeper right now because I want it to go deeper, but I can also go higher. For all the viewers, we tried to do this exercise before the live show, and I couldn't go any higher because, like I said, I'm a little bit under the weather. I have laryngitis, so I cannot go higher, but I can go lower. But basically, you just go like this. You do the siren glides. And then after this exercise, what essentially happens is, since air is flowing through your lungs, it's gonna go out. It's gonna go to this area outside of your body. But since we're doing this part, a small amount of air is gonna be kept within your vocal tract. And then it's gonna create back pressure, which is gonna make your whole pharynx more bigger. It's gonna make it be bigger, and it's going to create a more resonant sound because our voice basically works like an organ, the organ for playing. A lot of tubes and a lot of air in combinations with the size of the tube and how much air we send out. So that is also a really good exercise to just warm up your whole voice. Also, one exercise that I like to do, which is more related to resonance, and I would just like to say that people usually say talk louder, speak louder so we can hear you. We don't have to speak louder. We just need to learn how to let physics do its work. So what we can do is to just make our vocal tract as good as possible for the sound it needs to send out. So if I want to sound more, let's say, if I want to sound louder, what I can do is I can lower my larynx a little bit. If I put it a little bit too low, it's going to sound like this. It's not going to sound good. We're going to sound very dopey. We're going to sound like Scooby-Doo. But if we just want to work with this, we can do this. Now I'm just keeping my larynx. Let's say that this is the neutral position. Instead of keeping it here, I'm keeping it here. And it's going to create a much larger space for voice, for sound to resonate. And then I can also yell, but I'm not yelling. I am literally accentuating the notes of the spectra that I need to have, of the spectrum that I need to have. And it's going to allow us to talk more loudly, and it's going to allow us to talk more, I would say, dominant. It's going to make us sound more authoritative. So that's also a good exercise for people who usually have a very tense voice, a very pressed phonation, or if their voices are a little bit too high, because also the pitch of your voice tells a lot about you, or not necessarily about you, but people have their perceived notions of what you are based on how you speak. So those are some 3 easy exercises that we can do. But if you guys want to go into some other parts of the voice, I would be more than happy to answer those questions.
I have no idea on which part of a voice do we want to go. I don't know if Edita knows. What I discovered is this sparkling wine, and I'm not going to open it because I need to drink it. And no, not in the morning yet.
It's
So
fine. It's
no
fine. I
Coke
mean,
for
it's
me
5 o'clock
today.
somewhere. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Hey.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sure. What I would like to hear from our viewers and listeners, if they tried some of the exercises, and how do they feel doing them, and does it help? So I would say we probably don't know what we need to work on, and you showed us the exercises, but we have no idea. Do we need to do these exercises? Why? How often? And so this is why people need to come to you. So you say, okay, your voice needs some more of these exercises, and maybe not that much of the other exercise.
Yes,
If I'm correct.
exactly. Yes, exactly. Because I'm also a coach. So people quite often come and say, oh, nothing is the way it's supposed to be. And my first question to that is, what is not the way it's not supposed to be? So I just give you a question so you start thinking about the very exact thing that is bothering you in this moment, because people tend to catastrophize. They think that everything is not right. And the same thing with voice. They hear something and they're going to say, oh my God, my voice sucks. And then I come in and I give them full credit for a lot of good stuff that they're doing. But they just haven't, how could I say, they just haven't learned how to embrace their voice the way it is. And once we do that, we know that we can make it even better. So I step in and I tell you, okay, this sounds good. Let's not concentrate on that. Let's concentrate on something else. So I don't want to sound cocky, but phoneticians as well as speech language pathologists, we are trained to listen. We are trained to hear those subtle differences. And based on what we hear, we give individual approach to each and every one. And also something that I like to use in my work is to do an acoustic analysis. So I know I hear a lot, but I can't hear everything. It can make me a little bit subjective to some things. So I'm going to use an acoustic analysis, which basically means that we're going to record a few different aspects of your voice. I'm going to put it into a software that deals with acoustics, and I'm just going to see all those fine numbers that tell me where we're supposed to go. I can see your spectrum. I can see something that's called formants, your harmonics. I can see how much of acoustic energy you have in each part of the spectrum. And with that, with those objective measures, I can say, okay, I see this here. Let's try to do exercises that they're going to tackle this very specific thing. So there's a lot of approaches that I use, but most importantly, I listen. That is the key thing that all the voice coaches need to do. And also one other thing that they need to do is what I said in the beginning. We need to look at the voice as a physiological, psychological, and social phenomenon, because maybe something's going to work on the physiological level, but something's not going to work on the social or psychological level. So we need to tackle those latter things so we can make the first thing work properly, so the whole thing would work rather well.
You told us in the pre-live that most of your clients are women, and now you said that it's people who think their voice sucks or that they can't do any public speaking and so forth. Is that your ideal client? Somebody who doesn't dare to do anything because right now they think they sound silly or they don't really embrace their potential?
Yes, absolutely. Because my mission is to help people understand their potential and unlock it. I'm always going to be the person that's rooting for you. It doesn't matter what you're doing, I will be the one rooting for you. And from what I've seen in my practice is that women are usually a lot more self-conscious than us guys are. They're going to say, oh, I don't sound well, or oh, I'm not doing this right. Whereas guys, we're just going to go, straight to it. We're just going to do it. Doesn't matter if we're doing it well, if we're thinking we're doing it well, we're just going to do it. So like I said, what I've seen from my practice is that a lot of women come in because they realize that they should be taken more seriously, especially if they are entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, we live in a society that, I'm not going to say blocks women from doing certain things, but it definitely has a different view on what a woman should be and what a woman should do, which is not something I'm comfortable with. I want to work with women to help them unlock their full potential the way they want it. So they can do stuff they've never felt comfortable with, so they can use their voice so other people, stakeholders at different meetings, clients, would take them more seriously. And especially one really important thing is women have a tendency of achieving voice problems quite sooner than men do, because women have morphologically thinner voice cords. And since they usually talk on a higher pitch than us guys do, their vocal cords are going to vibrate more quickly, which means they're going to be used more quickly. And also, since you have your periods, that's also going to, tip the scales off from the hormonal balance, which is very important for the voice. So women have a lot more, how should I say it, drops in certain hormonal things that are very important for the voice. So because of that, because of the biological predisposition, I also like to work with women so they can make their voice sound fuller, so they can have a healthier sounding voice for a longer period of time. Because we need to have this instrument for the rest of our lives. Just the way we need to have fully functional limbs, just the way we need to have fully functional teeth. Although we can, put something in, we can put veneers on or something. Voice is something that should be kept. There are therapeutic measures that we can do. There are surgical things that we can do in regards to voice. But my personal opinion is, let's try to do something beforehand so it never comes to this. If it comes to this, you can treat it, but it's not ideal. So I'm the one that works before the voice problems occur.
Do you work with entrepreneurs specifically, or singers, or podcast hosts? Who are your usual clients?
My usual clients so far have been, I had a lot of radio hosts, because radio hosts, they are not seen, they're only heard. So they need to have a really good voice so they can send the message out. I also work with like I said, with individual entrepreneurs that just want to sound better. I also work with transgender people, specifically transgender women, so they can have a voice that reflects their gender identity. I can go into very different fields, let's say. But what I've seen that I work with the most are women entrepreneurs. So let's say that is my target audience, because I see that they need it, or they should be doing it.
Here's a QR code for that. I think Darko is a bit disappointed now because he wants to do more of these exercises with you.
No. I'm not. I'm not disappointed. I'm just listening, and really, it's interesting how we even value voice and need to describe it. And from what I
Usually, in my
heard,
in my personal opinion, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Darko. Usually, people start to think about their voice once they lose it, and a lot of things are reversible. Let's not kid ourselves. A lot of things are reversible, but we should be doing something beforehand so the voice problem doesn't even occur, so it doesn't even happen.
okay, so we should start working on it. But what I wanted to say, what you described mostly as some, let's say, lesser wished qualities are being nasal in the voice and not being deep enough. And how deep actually should we go? I think we have an example of. I think she is or was a Miss Chile this year, and she actually does sing or growl in death metal band, which was really deep, like. Do we need to go that deep, or how would you say which qualities are good? Are they the same for all the people, or we are different on the way we look, the way people present themselves, or maybe basically on what they do? They need to have some different qualities of their voice.
Yes, I like to say that we should be working with what we have. For instance, if somebody has a naturally higher sounding voice, I will say, okay, let's try to make it a little less high. So let's go to the lower part of the voice. But of course, we're going to come to this.
So being high is not good for no one. So it's not a good quality.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not a good quality, but in our Western culture, people tend to believe lower voices a lot more. If you listen to all the radio hosts, they usually have a deeper voice. Not necessarily deep, but a deeper voice. And that is what we need to do. For instance, I'm trying to look for an example. I had one client. She was a female client who was, I can't, I usually can, but right now I can't. She was talking really high. This was her natural speaking voice, but in a fuller, more resonant voice, because that's more natural for her. But she would also feel that she's very tight in the throat. And sometimes people would tell her that she's hysteric just because of the way she talks. And she wasn't. She was the sweetest person ever. But people tend to portray her as hysteric because she would, when she goes this, she would talk like this, and then she would speak very fast, and and people tend to say that that's a negative quality, which it is. So what we need to decide was first see how low she can go. And then based on how low she can go, let's go a few steps above that. Or we just use the natural pitch of that person, of, let's say, this client, and we just go for 2 or 3 semitones lower. And once you do that, and once you learn how to stabilize the pitch, your voice sounds fuller. And people really do portray it differently. For instance, Margaret Thatcher, the former UK's prime minister, back in her days when she was just starting out, she was speaking a lot higher than she was at the end of her career, because she worked with a voice coach. Before that, when she had a higher voice, they would call her Madge. And once she started working on her voice, she was called the Iron Lady. So the whole perception of that person shifted. So that is a very important thing. Also, what we need to learn is just how to work with resonance. People tend to talk from here. They are usually sitting on their throat. And what that does, first of all, if I wanted to talk like this is how my voice would sound if I was sitting on the throat. It's an impressionistic term. If I'm sitting here, first of all, I cannot project my voice. You hear how it sounds very, it's not nasal, but it's very childlike. And also, I'm just building up the pressure here. So I'm going to feel the bump in my throat. I'm going to feel the tightness in these muscles. So what we need to do is, I will do it right now. We just need to make our voice more resonant. What I did right now is I lowered my larynx so I could create more backspace in my voice tract. And I started projecting voice into my mask. I had this so-called forward placement where my tongue is basically pulling towards the entrance or the exit where the mouth is. And we sound more fuller, we sound more resonant, and also the quality of our pronunciation is better. For instance, a very simple exercise that we can do is use the sound M, like Mateo. But we need to try not to sound like this, because we're sitting here. Look at my face. Look at what I'm doing. And now I found the placement that is good for me. It's going to make my voice sound much more fuller. And I start talking like this until I condition myself that I don't need to use the mask, or let's say the entrance to the mask. I don't need to do the part anymore. I just know from my muscle coordination, from my muscle memory, what needs to be done. And that is what voice therapy and voice exercises essentially are, what it essentially is. You just condition yourself to that point where you don't need to think about anything anymore. Not that you don't need to think about anything anymore, but when you wake up, you already know how you need to, project your voice. You know how to maintain all those small parts in your vocal tract to be stable, or just to accentuate what you need to be doing. And for instance, this is a very simple exercises. We do the part, and we can also put, I prefer to do it like this. We need to put fingers here where our nose is, and we just feel the vibration. If we're doing, we're going to feel a little bit of vibration on our fingers. But if we do, we're going to feel a lot more vibration on our fingers. If we feel it on our fingers, that means the placement is good. And from that, we first go to vowels. So for instance, we go ma, me, mi, mo, mu. And then you just continue talking from the placement that you found beforehand. And you just try to maintain it. Of course, in the earlier stages of working with voice, usually what you do on the session is something that you really need to be doing by yourself so it would stick. So you would get yourself accustomed to the new feeling that you're doing. Because a lot of people, when we start working on this, they say, when we start working on voice, they say, oh, this sounds good, but it doesn't sound natural. It is natural. If you can produce it, that means it's there. If it's there, that it's natural. And for instance, Darko, the lady you mentioned, the Miss Universe lady, I must, I'll be completely honest with you. I have no idea who she is, but I will look into it. But there's a voice technique, vocal technique, which is more applied to singing, but it can also be applied to voice rehabilitation and to general speaking technique. It's called complete vocal technique. It basically looks at your voice as a full instrument, and you can do sounds that are, growls. And if you can do the growling sound, it means it's there. You just need to learn how to do it properly so you don't destroy your chord. Or if you want to speak higher, or if you just want to, let's say, sing higher. A lot of people don't know that they need to do a lot of work with their tongue. For instance, if somebody wants to speak higher, let's say not speak, because we usually don't speak that much higher in every day. But for instance, when we're singing, we need to drop our mouth so it's nice and open, and look at my vocal tract, how it's open. People usually don't know that they can control their tongue to this degree. So what I see when people are also speaking, they will speak like this. And when they speak like this, I hear that their tongue is it's pulling back. If it's pulling back, it's going to create pressure here, and it's going to block the sound from exiting your voice tract, your vocal tract, which is going to lead to less desirable quality of your voice. Just a lot of stuff. Usually, from what I've seen, voice problems are not necessarily voice problems, they are tension problems. And 80%, give or take, of voice problems are related to breathing, to correct abdominal breathing. So we just work with that. Vocal cords are the least of a problem. They're important, but they're not the most important thing. What we do with our mouth, what we do with our nose, what we do with our tongue, what we do with our larynx, and of course, what we do with our breath, that is the essential thing in voice exercises.
You've given us a lot of technical information. It's obvious that you're an expert there, but somebody might be watching and going, if I start changing my voice, I won't sound like me anymore. I won't be authentic. People will think I'm trying to fake something. So what would you say to that? If I understood you correctly, what you're saying is that training your voice is healthier for you. Is there another argument to be said about embracing a role, a different type of speaking than what you're used to?
I mean, who am I to judge? If you want to have a voice that sounds like this because you feel more comfortable with it, and if I listen to it, it just doesn't give out healthy voice, a manageable voice for the long run, I'm going to say that's fine, because I don't feel comfortable telling people what they need to do. But what I do feel comfortable is telling people what they should be doing in order to preserve their voice. So usually when I work with people, when I work with my clients, I ask them, what are their end results? How they would like to sound? Are there any specific things that they're aware that they would like to change? And we go from there, because it's not my voice, it's their voice. And us voice trainers, voice coaches, we need to work with that, because we come back to the first thing that I said, it's a social phenomenon. If you feel comfortable talking this way, that's completely fine. But you need to be aware that maybe if you're using your voice in this way, maybe the perception of you is going to be different. So if you want to change the perception of you, start working with your voice. And people usually say what you said, Edita. They sometimes say, it's not me, it doesn't sound like me. And then I say, okay, let's not use it. Let's tweak it differently. Let's make it sound more like you. But that is a lot of practice. And that is, to me, just putting your ego to the side, because the client has it in themselves. I'm just here to pull it out. And if a client doesn't want this, I can tell my professional opinion. You should be doing this. But at the end of the day, I am not their caregiver. If they don't think that they should be doing that, it's their right to think so. We can all speak from our professional perspectives. And I believe you guys have been in situations like this yourselves. You just know that it should be done differently, but it just feels superfluous to do it, because the client doesn't want to change it. And the change has to come from the client, because it's not my change, it's their change. It is not my decision, it's their decision.
So you don't go to conferences and tell people, what
No,
you did there on the stage.
no, no, because nobody asked for my opinion. And that's how I like to go through life. If you don't ask for my opinion, I'm not going to give you my opinion, because I don't think I'm the most important person out there. I have opinions, but you know how Einstein said opinions are like a-holes, blah, 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 blah. I like to, go through life with this in my mind. Also, this is what you mentioned. It's really funny. I feel like that when I talk to my psychology friends. I have some friends that are in psychology, in that field. They are either psychologists or psychiatrists or psychotherapists. And then when I talk to them, I'm always feeling a little bit, at unease. Are they creating opinions about me? Are they seeing something that maybe I'm not seeing? Are they seeing something that I'm maybe trying to hide in this moment? And then when people find out what I'm doing, that I'm a voice coach, I can feel that there's a little shift. They're like, okay, I'm gonna start to do it more, the way you want it. And I'm like, no, that's not the way I want it. That would be the way I would like it to be if we were to work together. But if this is, just if this is a conference and you don't know what I'm doing, I can tell you, you had a very good presentation. I really liked it, but I'm not going to go into those details. But if we meet and I tell them that I'm a voice coach and they ask me, oh, how is my voice? Is there anything I could do differently? Then yes, then that's not an unsolicited advice. I'm going to give you an advice, because I want you to make it.
Okay. And maybe sometimes people are just happy with their voice, and but do they come to you if they either start public speaking or start some longer speeches or monologue that they need to have better longevity of their speech, so their mouth doesn't start to be dry when they speak for 10 minutes. So these are probably the problems that they have once they shift from normal dialogue to some public speaking, which is basically a long monologue.
Yes, they do. They do. A lot of people come to me because they found themselves in a new situation and they know that this situation is gonna, let's say, use a lot of their voice. So they're like, okay, I'm gonna be using my voice a lot more than I used to. Let's work with a professional. That was a few months ago. I started working with a politician, and he came to me point and blank. I feel like my voice is not the best version of it, and I need to be in front of people the whole time. I want people to trust me. Can you help me? Yes, let's work on it. We need to raise awareness. Or the person just needs to have that aha moment where they say, oh, maybe I should be working on this. Also, I had a lot of people who just want to go into this whole radio podcast thing. They just want to start doing their own podcast, or they just want to go to auditions to become TV hosts or radio hosts, and they feel like, I'm not going to say they're not up to par with the work that they're applying for, but they feel like they could be better. And then we work on it. It's the same thing as if I wanted to lose weight. And I know all the right ways to lose weight, but I can also hire a coach who is a professional, or I can hire a nutritionist who's going to help me, eat better or just eat healthier, because they know more than I do. Same thing with my clients. We carry our voices with us the entire time. So at this point, we kind of do know how it sounds like. We kind of do know what we need to do. But there's a professional who knows a little bit more about this topic. So let's come up to them, ask them, and start working.
If they do start, well, we've seen quite a few exercises that they can expect to need to do. Is there something else you would need to tell someone who's considering it, so they can be prepared and not feel like it's unknown territory?
I would tell them that everything that we do in the session is something they need to do with themselves, because it's like piano. If you just come to the class where you learn how to play piano, but you don't have piano at home, and the next time you can play the piano is in a week or 2 weeks once you come to the piano teacher, you're not going to be able to practice. And the beauty of voice is that we have it with ourselves the whole time. So let's do something in a session, and I give you, I'm not going to call it homework, but it's more like things that you need to be getting aware of. How you use your voice. How does it sound in the morning? How does it sound during the day? How does it sound during the evening? And then you go from there. If you do this change in the morning, just look if your voice is going to change during the day. What I mean by change is that's what I see with a lot of teachers, a lot of professors. In the morning, they feel good, but they're going to push their voice out. And by noon, they're going to sound like me right now, and they need to continue the day. They need to wrap the day up. And of course, they need to use their voice for the rest of their career. So I would say that that is basically it. You need to practice, and you need to be aware that we're going to make some stupid sounds. We're going to make some exercises that sound like, what? What is even this? But they're here to just teach you that you can do this. And once you, let's say, get aware of the fact that this sound exists, you can apply it to your speech later on. For instance, there's this exercise. It's called small dog, big dog. And when I tell people that they need to drop their larynx, so this Adam's apple, that it needs to go lower, they're like, oh, I don't know how to do it. And then I'm telling them, okay, imagine you're a Beethoven. Imagine that you're a big, very big dog. How do they pant? Okay, now think about a Chihuahua. How does a Chihuahua pant? Pant. I don't know. It goes like, and you see how the sound changes. It goes from to, and it goes to that because we did something with our larynx. And they're like, oh, so I did drop my larynx. Oh, I can do that. Nice. And then we go from there. We go from the awareness that it is possible to make it like that into connecting it with the speech that we need to have. And for instance, this thing, it is also that. We just need to be aware that our mask, that our face has to vibrate if we speak. So I give them the fingers, just put it here and try to feel the vibration. This is literally the mirror in the gym. The mirrors are not there to show us how fat we are, how we don't look good. They're there to show us the exercises that we're doing. if we're having the right posture, if we're doing the right form, etc., etc. So just if you're coming to work, if you're going to be working with a voice therapist or with a voice coach, just know that it's okay to improvise. And that is literally what we do. We improvise so people start to realize how much more of unlocked potential they have in their voice.
I was just trying to check if there were any extra comments that didn't go through, because I didn't see second comment from Clara. Darko, do you see any new comments? I'm not sure if they're not going through.
No, there are no new comments, but okay, maybe on LinkedIn. I don't know. Perhaps it's not working today, but
They're too busy panting and
yeah, too busy.
It happens. It happens.
And I must say, this is really a good exercise because I felt my nose started running. So when you perhaps have a full nose, it should be good to treat this also. So,
Yeah, and also
I really
when we
like this
work
one.
with, yes, and also, for instance, when we work with nasality, if somebody is nasal like this, they got used to their voice sounding like this, and then I give them this. Just do this, and then they hear how much of the nose quality they have in their voice. So this is more like a way of how you can control yourself. And of course, there are other exercises that can be used in this very regard when it comes to nasality. But this is just one way how you can control if your voice sounds very nasal. For instance, now I have this, but there's no nasal quality. Even though the nasal sounds like b, d, and ñ in Croatian. And then you go from there. You just control yourself by doing this. You can either sound like this or you can either sound like this. This is an extra step of how to be sure that you're doing it right or that you're not doing it right. Our whole body is an instrument.
oh, Darko is testing the comments. Okay.
If somebody has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
We see that people are watching on YouTube, but as I said, I think they might be busy trying to do all the exercises you gave us. But as you told us that when people work with you, you're there to supervise and make sure that it's being done correctly, because I would guess just like with yoga or any exercise, if you're not doing it the way it's supposed to be done, you could be doing some harm as well.
Yes. I always ask people, how does it feel? So what's the physical sensation? Sometimes they tell me I feel a little bit of tension. Sometimes they tell me it feels perfect. And I go from there. But also, I try to connect the way they feel to the way they sound. So I can also have some, let's say, notions about how it's supposed to sound. But I always like to check it with the client so they could be aware of what they're doing it. Because at the end of the day, it's their voice and they need to learn how to use it. I can just give you, I'm not going to say, but that's personally my approach. I'm not going to say, oh, you're not doing this right, do this. If I see or if I hear that it's not right, I'll ask, how does this feel? And usually people, if it doesn't sound right to me, usually people are going to start thinking about how does it feel, and later on, how does it sound? And then they're going to say, oh yeah, I do feel a little bit of tension here. So like you said, Edita, you said it great. I'm a supervisor. I just overlook how you're doing things. I give you concrete things that that you should be doing, but I also supervise how you're doing it. And then if I see that you're doing something wrong, quote unquote, I'm going to ask you, how does this feel? So people would start thinking about how they feel. It's like progressive muscle relaxation. I don't know if you guys have ever done it. It's basically just sitting somewhere, lying somewhere. You can also close your eyes, and then you go down from your toes up to your face and concentrate on the tension. And I guarantee you, you're going to realize how much tension you have in your body. You're just not actively thinking about it in this very specific moment. So I'm going to tell people, how does this feel? And then they're like, oh, okay, yes, I do feel some tension. And people don't necessarily see that themselves. They need to have someone who's objective enough to tell them what they're doing. Same thing, working with people, that's the beauty of it. I wouldn't know, I used to go to the gym myself. I was doing things. I thought I was doing them right. What the hell do I know? And then I got a coach. And then the coach showed me that I'm not doing things well, that there's a better way of doing it. I just didn't have the notion that it should be like that. I didn't know that it's possible to do it like that. I remember when I was doing the bench press, just the location, just the movement of my elbows changed the whole thing, the way I can push it. I was just pushing it. I wasn't thinking about what I'm doing. And then my coach told me, okay, try to do this a little bit more and then try to push it. So I pushed it and bam, it's much easier to do it. Same thing in voice therapy. I hear something, I tell you, hey, concentrate on this, and then it's a boom. We know how to do it now.
And how long does it take? We didn't ask that. How long does it normally take to get to a result that the client can notice and bring to their daily life?
It is, I'm going to be completely honest with you. That is one of the questions that I don't like. And that is one of the questions that is most often
Bad,
asked.
Edita, bad.
No, it's not a bad thing. People want to see progress. People like to have a deadline. Oh, by, I don't know, this date, I'm going to have my voice sound fuller. I don't know. But it all depends on how often we're working together, how often you're working with yourself, and how good you are at managing all those symptoms that you used to have. If there's awareness, enough of awareness, let's say it like that. If there's enough of awareness to just know how you're using your voice in any given situation. With some clients, I had good results in like 3 sessions, 4 sessions. With some clients, I had to have 15 sessions because they were just, very busy. They were doing the voice exercise thingy because they wanted to do it, but they thought that that's like a magic wand that I'm gonna go to them and be like, whoosh, 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 you sound good. No, it's not. You need to concentrate on what you're doing. And if you're aware, you're gonna give less money to me, which is good for you because you're gonna have better results. But if you're not aware, then that's good for me. I'm just kidding. But if you're not aware of those things, then we're going to be doing it for longer periods of time. But also, if our clients do reach a good level of speaking, of singing, of this, of that, there's also we need to condition it. It's also good to meet with me, with other voice coaches occasionally, just to restart yourself. Singers, professional singers, let's say opera singers, they're going to finish their masters. They're going to be studying singing for 5 years, which means that once they got their diploma, that should mean that they are using their voices perfectly, but they're not. They're constantly needing to work with a voice coach, not as often as they used to, but to have a session here and there just so they could restart themselves, just so they could have an objective ear telling them, hey, do this instead of that. Same thing in voice therapy, same thing with voice exercises.
It sounds like language learning. I also hate that question. And I also don't like to mention homework, but it's quite important to do your
It's quite
homework.
important, yes, because you're using your voice every day in every given moment. So you're not going to be using your voice only in our sessions. That's where you're going to warm up your voice. And then you're supposed to be using it by yourself. So yeah, we share the same pet peeve. I'm glad.
it's not homework anymore. It's called challenges. That's
Of course, yes.
that's a tip that I got that I'm
Home
still trying to
challenges.
use.
I remember when I was teaching a few years ago, and I was like, so the way we tackle this challenge is that we, yeah, it's tomato, but yes, it's a challenge, not a problem.
All right. Is there something we haven't asked you that you think would be very important for you to tell our audience who
I
are
think
just doing everything they can right now and not typing?
I think we've covered it all. You guys asked very good questions, and I heard a lot of my voice, so I was just talking a lot. But if you want to work on your voice, you can always work with me if you're interested. There's something that I call individual training of voice, where I will make an analysis of your voice by both listening to it and by using the acoustic analysis. So it's going to go very, very, very much in depth of what we're going to be doing. We're going to teach you some most important aspects of voice work, which for me is resonance and breathing. And once you learn that, everything else is going to be very individual. We're going to take you as you are, your voice as it is, and we're going to work from there. And if you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn, Mateo Milicevic. You can find me on Instagram, Mamilicev, and feel free to ask me a question or two. I'm always happy to help people just to get information, because I know that for me, I take it from me. Sometimes I have questions about something and I would like to ask them. So I would like for people to know that I'm also that person. You can always ask me. You don't have to book me. You don't have to pay me. If I can give you a tip or advice, I will gladly do it. So ask away if you need to ask something.
Okay, thank you so much for being so open and all your demonstration of all these exercises that
That was
I
just the
really am
beginning.
eager
That
to
was
start.
just the beginning.
And thank you for your time. Um,
Thank you,
and
guys.
we should wrap it up for today. So thank you once again, Mateo, and we'll continue this conversation some next time with some new exercises, which I'm eager to get to know how it works, and it's really great.
Thank you, Darko. Thank you, Edita. And have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You
Thank you,
too.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.